Hi, my name is Sarah Madras, founder of Esteem Builders Coaching. Welcome. As a motivational speaker and relationship therapist, my passion is helping you to learn the skills to be successful at relationships. So if you have been feeling like, oh, I just suck at relationships, and I am tired of having another failed relationship, and you want to learn to grow and learn the skills to have fulfilling relationships in all areas of your life where you feel understood and respected and loved and appreciated, then you've come to the right place, because that's what we talk about here. So, and this isn't just talking about intimate relationships with a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend. It's all relationships. Relationships are everywhere we go. There is no escaping them. So we might as well learn the skills to be amazing at them so that we can give the love that people deserve and so that we can receive the love that we deserve. So I'm happy to have you here today. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how my parents' divorce affected me and the lessons that I learned from it and took forward into the relationships I had. So I believe it's important for people to talk about their starting point. So to be honest about where they started at, because each of us starts at different points. So for example, in business, if a coach or someone is talking to me about how they took their business from, $0 to a six-figure business in 2 years. And they don't tell me about how they did this with the help of a six-figure salary at a corporate job, or with the help of that their starting point was the fact that their husband had a hugely successful job and made lots of money. And so they were already starting up here. Then that doesn't feel authentic and real. That feels dishonest. Like you had different resources available to you in order to get your business from 0 to 6 figures in 2 years, because you had a pool of resources that were different than from somebody who's starting back here, who's creating a business from 0 without the safety net, without a 6-figure corporate job to support it with cash flow, or without a spouse's financial security to support it. So I believe it's important for us to be honest about our starting point, because everybody's starting point is different. And so in order for us to have an honest and authentic relationship, it's important for me to tell you about my starting point. So growing up, I never really remember seeing my parents argue. We grew up in a very, the love that we saw between them. My dad was very romantic, and he did these elaborate, romantic gestures for my mom. I can remember one, I don't know if it was like Valentine's Day or an anniversary or something, but he decorated our back porch with lights and made it look like a restaurant. And he had a tablecloth on the table and, all the fancy linens and dishes. And my brother and I dress up like hostess and waitresses, and we had the dish towel like a maitre d', and he created this big romantic dinner for them. And as a kid, I remember peeking out our sliding glass doors and watching them eating dinner and just thinking like, oh my gosh, how romantic, how amazing, like they're so in love, and look at the lengths that he goes to make her feel loved and appreciated. And so that is what I grew up in. We were an upper middle class family. And so I don't remember seeing them have trouble. So when they did divorce, it was a very big shock. And it just happened suddenly. Like one day my mom was there, and then the next day she left, and we didn't see her back at the house again. And so that was my starting point of, I had this example of what I thought love and marriage and relationships and passion was. And then boom, on a dime, it shifted, because from that moment, everything shifted. our finances shifted. Obviously, the household structure, who's living in the house shifted. So everything changed on a dime. And from that moment, it was just me and my dad. My older siblings were already off at college. I was about to graduate high school and go off to college as well. And so that was my starting point. And so the lessons from that, as I want to check my notes to make sure I give everything, so lesson number 1 was that I learned that secrets destroy. So no matter what the secrets are, they destroy the trust, they destroy the connection and the commitment within relationships. And I don't mean just secrets about affairs or how you spend money or things like that. I mean, from the beginning of being honest about who you are, your past, what's important to you, and how, what you think and what you want. So what I mean by that is if you're going through your life just saying to people what you think they want to hear because you want to please them and because you want them to like you, and you're being the person that you think they want, but that it's not really you, then that's a secret, because you're keeping secret who you really are, what you really do think about certain topics. If you are totally against, if you're totally against your wife staying home and being a stay-at-home mom, and you're in the dating process, like this happened with me and my husband. I was like, no, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, that's my plan. This was deliberate and set in stone. And if he had a problem with that, and he was like, no, I believe women should 2-career households. If that was his belief, if he would have lied to me and been like, oh, I think that's great, then when we went to have kids and I wanted to stay home, he would have been resentful. That would have caused a conflict in our marriage. It would have caused a strain in our marriage. And so it's not just about not keeping secrets about affairs or things like that. It's about being honest about who you are, what your past is, your history, and what it is that you want for the future, how you believe in the hot button topics of religion, gender roles, sexuality, all those really core component things. Be totally honest from the beginning so that each person knows what they're getting. Don't just say something because you want to be who you think that person wants you to be, because it will unravel. You can't maintain that the whole time, okay? So that's what I learned, is secrets kill relationships. And so don't keep any kind of secrets at all from Jump Street of who you are, what you're about, and then anything moving forward. If you feel a certain type of way about a decision in the relationship, then you speak up and you voice that in a kind way. If like when my husband and I were looking to buy a house, if he would have just said, oh yes, I like that house, sure, because I was like, oh, I love this house, and he just wanted to please me and make me happy, and then we buy this house, and let's say he doesn't like it, and then he's living in this house that he actually didn't really want, and so there's this underlining regret and resentment and animosity that percolates and eventually bubbles to the top. So be honest from the beginning of who you are, what you want, and all the way along. Don't keep secrets. Be true to who you are so that it is a completely transparent and honest relationship. Okay. Then the other thing that I learned is that you don't hide the struggle as much. So like I said, I don't recall seeing lots of arguments. And so when my mom left, it was a huge shock to all of us, to my dad and me and the siblings and things like that, because we didn't see any struggles. And so what I mean by that is I'm not saying have these big blow up arguments in front of your kids. I'm saying balance that and live in that gray area, not the all or nothing of they never see an argument or they see you screaming, yelling, It's not that. It's live your life in the gray area of that it's okay to have conflict and it's okay to have struggle. And when your children see you struggling and having those difficult conflicts, that you say to them, yes, mommy and daddy are disagreeing right now, and we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to come to a solution. Because you're teaching them that when they have their relationships, that it's okay to have conflict. It's okay to disagree, because the commitment is strong and you work through it and you solve the problem. So being able to show the good and the bad, so that when your kids are in their relationships, they don't think everything has to be good all the time, or there's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with my relationship. If I'm struggling, then, oh my gosh, that means that this isn't the right relationship, and I need to hurry up and jump ship, because all I ever saw from my parents was amazing and wonderful, and they never fought. And so that's your vision of what marriage should be. That's not accurate vision. Like, if you love the show This Is Us, it's kind of like This Is Us. The kids only saw the amazing stuff. They didn't see when the mom and dad struggled, or when he struggled with addiction and how that affected mom, or, all that, things like that. And so I'm not saying you have to show them everything, but it's important to teach them that struggle is okay, and that relationships go through conflict and disagreement, and that when the commitment and the love is there, that you problem solve and you work through it. And then the high point comes again, where everything's amazing, and you ride that high too. So it's the peaks and valleys. Okay. So the other thing that I learned is that you can only control you. You can influence people, but you cannot change people. People have to be willing to change on their own. And so what I mean by you can influence people is that when you're in loving relationships, you can say, hey, I see this differently, and you can show them your point of view and try to influence that, because you're planting seeds. You're giving them a different way to see things. But at the end of the day, you can't change them. If they, want to spend 10 hours each weekend preparing for marathons or something, and you're saying to them, hey, that's taking a toll on our relationship, you can influence that by telling them how you feel of, I miss you, and this feels like a third person in our relationship, and it's taking a toll, and can we find a more balanced way to do this? So you can influence that. But at the end of the day, we all have our own free will. And so that person doesn't have to change that behavior. They have their own free will to make their own decisions. So you can't change other people, and you can't control them. You can only change and control your reactions. And so it's about keeping your lane clean. So staying in your own lane and keeping your own lane clean, so that at the end of the day, you can be at peace with, like, this is what I did, and this is who I am, and I kept my lane clean. I didn't react out of anger, or if I did react out of anger, I came back around and took ownership of that and tried to fix that mistake and repair that. So it's not about being perfect, but it's about knowing that I need to stay in my lane, because I'm the only one that I have control over. And when I change in the relationship, it shifts the relationship, whether the other person changes or not. Okay? Because that's how interconnectedness works. Think of it as like spokes on a bike. Okay? So you have less regret. And a more inner peace of, and less anxiety, because when you're trying to control somebody else, it creates this high level of anxiety because it's unrealistic. But when you stay within your own lane, then you don't have regrets. It decreases the anxiety, because I've done the best that I can along the way. And then whatever comes, there's more peace in that. Okay. You cannot make someone love you, no matter how amazing you are. So that was the other lesson that I learned from my parents' divorce, is that no matter how amazing you are, you cannot make someone love you or stay if they don't want to. If they've made a choice to do something different, you can't, again, control that. So it's not about you not being enough. It's not about, when my parents divorced, it wasn't that my dad didn't love my mom enough. It wasn't like he didn't show her love or things like that. She made that choice for her reasons. And he couldn't he couldn't do anything about it, but it wasn't about him. Just like if someone doesn't love you back, it's not necessarily about you. You just can't make someone love you. It doesn't make you any less worthy. It doesn't mean that you're a horrible person. Like, could there be lessons to learn? Totally. Could there be things to change and grow on? Yes. But you can't make people love you. And it doesn't mean that you're broken or that there's something wrong with you. It's that people have free will. Okay? Okay, and then last but not least, the lesson I learned from my parents' divorce is that when relationships end, it doesn't actually kill you. And so we're way more resilient than we give ourselves credit for as human beings. And I think back on my own relationships and do you remember your first love and that intense heartbreak when your first love, when that relationship ends? It literally feels like your heart is broken. You've been ripped open. You're completely exposed. And the physical manifestation of that emotional pain is so intense that you feel broken where it hurts to take another breath. And so even though it hurts so badly, and that when a relationship ends, the pain can be so intense that it feels unbearable and it feels like it might kill us, it actually doesn't kill us. We are resilient and we can rebuild and we can find love again and we can find amazing relationships again. So we are stronger and more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. And so that pain and heartache that you feel when a relationship ends, it's that gift in that of teaching you, I can do insanely hard things. I can make it through intense pain and still live. Okay? So those are the lessons I learned from my parents' divorce and that I kind of have taken with me and learned in my own marriage as well, or relationships along the way. And so I hope that helps you. So to summarize, the lessons are that secrets destroy. So no secrets ever, ever, ever. We have a rule in our house that we never keep secrets. And that's for many reasons, to keep our kids safe and to keep our marriage strong, okay? So be honest about who you are, what you believe in, and what you want and need in your relationship. Lesson number 2, don't hide the struggle. It's okay to be honest about disagreements and knowing that you just resolve that conflict and you work through it. And that struggle is a part of blending two different people, of creating that happy medium of blending two different people in two different lives. Conflict and struggle is inevitable. You're not the same person. You're not living in the same brain. Number 3, you can only control you. So focus on keeping your lane clean and the person you want to be and owning your stuff instead of focusing on the other person. Number 4, you cannot make someone love you. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You are still amazing. You are still worthy. You are still lovable. You are lovable even when that person doesn't love you. Okay? And number 5 is that we are stronger and more resilient than you realize. And so when a relationship ends, it doesn't actually kill you and you do survive. So you get through that pain. And so you can do hard things, okay? So I hope that helps and that you take those 5 lessons and you can implement them into your relationships either now or moving forward. All right, thanks so much, Bill. I would love for you to comment below, like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.